The opening round of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe comes from Paul Ricard this weekend with a busy grid, some returning drivers, some names new to the championship, and the cars will be making their way round to the grid shortly for the first of our two races, as ever, with the mandatory pit stops. Not all, but many of the cars are for two drivers, which means that the regulations look after both elements. So, for example, in the 20 to 30 minute pit window, a solo driver will stop for 102 seconds, and 99 seconds is the time for a two-driver entry, just to try to balance things out a little bit. The teams were ready to send the cars to the grid, which will in turn get busy. We've had a red flag in an earlier element of the day, so things running a little bit behind, but won't be long before the cars make their way round to the grid. Pole position set this morning to the target racing entry of Guido Luchetti, and that will start on the outside of the front of the grid where pole position is. Guido Luchetti driving for target racing and being a soloist as well. And he was in the championship last year. He split his time between Pro and the Pro-Am class and ended up being third in Pro-Am, sixth in Pro-Am in the World Finals as well last year. So Guido Luchetti, certainly a man to watch. Alongside him at the front is going to be Enzo Garacci in number 36. Enzo Garacci also raced in the championship last year, and with a karting and Formula 4 background, he went into the Alpine series for a couple of years and then into Lamborghinis last year. And he's also racing not just in the European, but in the North American Championship this season, where he's been in action already at the start of this year. Second row of the grid is where you will find the British driver Georgi Dimitrov, who raced for a time in British Formula 4, and Stefan Tribodini alongside him. He's another experienced Lamborghini racer. Stefan Tribodini, having been a French GT class champion, he was a class champion in the 2020 GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Series. He was a class champion in AM in Super Trofeo Europe last year, and also in Italian GT. So Stefan Tribodini, certainly a rapid and successful driver, and he will be fourth on the grid. You can see all the teams are present and correct. The cars still to be released, of course, from the pit lane, but the lights will go green shortly to let the cars do 2 laps as well round to the grid. So they will go through the pit lane once. The Hankook tyre, it's a new tyre for this year, on which they run, likes to warm up and then cool. It's almost like it sets the glue, if you like, to bond everything. So they will have an extra lap through the pit lane before they come to the grid. And then the countdown itself will begin. So there you can see the cars making their way out on track. Super Trofeo Europe, which races back with SRO for many of its events. Paul Ricard, then Monza, then Spa, the Nürburgring, Barcelona, and Misano at the end of the year, which is where the traditional World Final will take place. There is also the North American Championship, as I say, that's kicked off at Sebring. It goes to Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen, Road America, Indianapolis, and then its final rounds at Misano, as will the Asian Championship that started last week in Australia. Goes to Shanghai, to Fuji, to Inje, to Sepang, and then to Misano, where the regional championships are decided Thursday, Friday, and then everybody gets together for the World Final competition. One race Saturday, one race on the Sunday. So the field pouring its way onto the circuit. Super Trofeo continues to go from strength to strength. Lamborghini well represented, of course, in international GT racing, as well as the One Make series that many years ago was taken back in-house by Lamborghini Squadra Corsa. It's also, if you like, got rid of some of the ringers as pro drivers. And, he wanted to be a driver within the Pro-Am part. Really, it was for, if you like, silver-graded drivers, but the days of having the Peter Coxes of this world coming in were sort of outlawed. And instead of being very much for gentlemen racers, it has certainly looked after them still, but also developed into somewhere where if you want to be a career racing GT racer, you ought to come and race here. And many have been picked up by Lamborghini, gone on into GT3 racing around the globe. So the whole ethos of the championship has changed. And although, yeah, as I say, the Lamborghini Cup caters for the gentleman driver, the Pro and the Pro-Am classes, look after those with an eye to the future, whether it's with Lamborghini or another brand, but to try and kickstart their careers. Many of the teams are familiar from seasons past within the championship, the likes of Oregon, of Boots and VDS, GT3 Poland, VSR. We have increased representation from the Far East this year for DL Racing. Chi-Chung Chang and Smart Tse coming for one of the DL Racing entries. Also Philip Tang from Hong Kong in another of the cars. And 4 classes, Pro, Pro-Am, Am and Lamborghini Cup. Battles across all. 99 there, heading to the grid is the Lippert car. It's another established team, the German team of the South African driver Anthony Pretorius and the Dane Silas Rutter. It's going to be Anthony Pretorius that starts this race, having been a quick karter and then racer in Volkswagen Polos and South African touring cars back home, now coming to Europe, wanting, in a sense, to emulate the Van der Lindes and go into a manufacturer program and race GT and sports cars worldwide. There you can see the cars, in some cases leaving, in some cases coming out of the pits for the second time, having done their first installation lap. So it adds to the time taken to get the grid formed, but it is all for safety reasons with the new tyre. So everybody comes through the pit lane. Nobody, of course, able to head across the pit lane until the cars have gone by. They have now done so, and we can head next as the cars make their way to the grid. To the grid itself, Dakota Jane is down there. Let's catch up with her.
Maurizio, it's an absolute honour to be down here for the 17th season of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. You must be excited to get underway with the new season.
Absolutely. It's my first Super Trofeo race as the head of Lamborghini Squadra Corsa, and I'm very excited. We have a wonderfully full grid, and I'm going to be looking forward to some close racing. And if I can give my prognosis, I think a Lamborghini is going to win.
That's quite a good prognosis. As you said, it's a packed grid behind us. 33 cars stand behind us, ready to roll. 14 teams, 50 drivers from 20 different nations. So there's a fantastic start to the season. What are you expecting from the race? Obviously, you said a Lamborghini is going to win, but what are you expecting during the race?
Oh, I expect that it's going to be a dry race. We have a new specification of tires this year, so I think there's going to be some very close racing and some good battles and some good overtaking, because here at Paul Ricard, it's quite a good track for that.
Thank you very much, Maurizio. Enjoy the race.
Yeah, the Paul Ricard circuit has a nice mix of, yes, long, fast straights, some twisty bits as well. There's also the chicane in use to just keep the speeds down a little bit on the Mistral straight. So midway along it, they do that left, right, left, and then blend back onto the Mistral. And then this is the slowest corner of the lap, really, the Virage du Pont, first gear. People can drop down to and then power out the other side, heading up towards the timing line in the case here of Chi-Chung Chan, up towards the grid. The DL Racing car heads to the line, and Chi-Chung Chan, or Alex Chan to give him his westernized name, sharing with Smart Tse, who's raced successfully to win the Macau Road Sport race in the past, as well as driving in Malaysia. Interesting combination of drivers, that new to the circuit, but have done quite a bit of racing in their home region. So the cars heading for 50 minutes of racing, mandatory pit stops between 20 and 30. There is the Boots and VDS car that started by Hugo Bach, who has raced in the French GT Championship, and the very experienced Renaud Coupens will take over. He was the AM winner of the World Final last year. He's also twice a Maserati Trofeo champion. He's raced in just about every GT category going. Ninth on the grid is, as you can see there, number 15, Benedetto Strignano, who's been racing in Carrera Cup Italy prior to moving to Super Trofeo last year. And Strignano will be another man to watch, I think, over the course of this first race, where, having, yes, had practice and qualifying, you've got a rough idea of people's pace, but when they go racing, you'll start to see maybe a true order and see who the brave drivers are in terms of racecraft as well. Number 9 up to the grid. That is Patrick Fabroni. The target racing car, Fabroni, who has come new into the championship this year. He did a bit of sports car racing in the FX Pro Series last year. And now to Super Trofeo. You can see the yellow flag being held at the front to tell people that this is where you stop, go no further. Up to the grid comes the pole car, number 10, of Guido Lucetti, 36, the Oregon team entry there, squeezing its way through. That is Enzo Garacci, that will be on the other side of the front row of the grid. The Vincenzo Sospiri Racing colours there for Stefan Tribodini. Number 15 in the background is Benedetto Strignano's car. And so the grid is just about formed, I think. You can see how busy it is of VIPs and team members. And for Guido Lucetti, he will have the benefit of doing the race on his own. So the car's going to run at that pace all the way through. Yeah, he's got to make a slightly longer pit stop of 3 seconds just to equate things between the 2 driver and the 1 driver entries. But I think he can easily overcome that. So Lucetti will be tough to beat here, starting as he is on pole position. Let's hear, before we go racing, from Guido Lucetti. Dakota Jane has caught up with him. Let's get back down to the grid.
Guido, obviously there's no better place to start than on pole position. You've got really strong competitors next to you. Are you feeling nervous before the first race?
I mean, it's my first time of my life in pole position. And my goal is to race cleanly, fairly, and to give everything I've got. So I'm not worried. I know I can do well. It's the best opportunity I've ever had, so I'll try to make the most out of it.
And what do you think is going to happen when you come into turn 1?
Well, I think I'll be in front, but it's not going to be easy to keep Enzo behind. So we'll see at the end of lap 1, and I hope for the best. If I'm in the front, that's better, but if that's not the case, I'll keep racing and trying to get my position back.
Thank you very much, Peter. We're going to go have a chat with Enzo to see how he's feeling.
Okay.
Bocca al lupo.
Enzo Garacci being the Enzo in question on the other side of the front row of the grid. So good fight being teed up between the two of them. Last couple of cars, I think, just slotting into place. Stragglers coming to the grid. So this race due to get underway in 2 minutes' time, but as I say, running slightly delayed because of earlier hiccups to the timetable. We're 5 minutes before the formation lap starts. Looking from onboard Alessio Ruffini's car. And the safety car has just blasted away from the line to go and take its station. The lead car, the Urus, will set off in due course. Everybody now making their way off the grid. The last of the engineers will stay to the 1 minute board and fire up the engines, but anybody that's not connected to a car has to get off the grid now. The start line, of course, is not the same place as the finish line. The finish line in front of the timing room. The start line a bit further down the pit straight. The timing line has to be in front of the timing room for all the equipment that they use, but the pit straight here has the start line just that little bit further along it. Co-drivers standing next to the cars to offer support to the start driver. As you can see, number 5, Adrian Lewandowski's car. This is Pietro Perolini in the Oregon livery. Oregon, another team that's had a long and illustrious history with its piratical logo, from touring cars to one-make Renaults and now to Lamborghini. Let's catch up with Enzo Garacci then. Front row of the grid, he's with Dakota.
Now, Enzo, we've just spoke to Guido, obviously, on pole position. He's feeling pretty nervous about the start of the race. He said it's the best position he's ever been in, so that gives you quite the advantage. Do you feel confident going into the first race?
Yeah, I feel really confident. We have a massive pace yesterday during practice, so I hope today we'll go get the first position.
This is your home race, obviously being from France. Do you have a lot of family and friends who have come out to support you?
Yeah, I have all my family over here, some friends, and even my girlfriend, so I need to give everything.
Obviously, as well, you've got Lamborghini watching you being part of the Young Drivers program and winning the shootout last year. That gives you a bit of an extra boost of confidence starting.
I can't hear you.
You're part of the Young Drivers program, must give you an extra boost starting.
Yes.
Bon chance, good luck.
Enzo Guaracci then focusing on the race. The downside, in a way, though, for him is that it's a shared car. So irrespective of how good or how quick he is, we also have to rely on the pace of co-driver Josef Knopp, who will do the second stint in the Oregon car. Although Knopp's quick, he won the German GT4 Championship last year. So that car still should be able to fight for honours. Adrian Lewandowski, his father, Andre, has been a regular class winner in Super Trofeo for many, many years. Adrian has raced for a good few seasons now, but he's the only Lewandowski on the grid this weekend. 3-minute board shown, so the grid being cleared. And remember, it's a rolling start, so the cars get one further lap to warm up the rubber before we blast away. There's former Clio racer Jerzy Spinkovic, who came in the unique racing car into Super Trofeo last year. Very different from the rough and tumble of Clio Cup, but acquitted himself nicely. And Spinkovic's here on the fourth row of the grid, starting behind number 44 of Kalle Bergman. So the Lamborghini flags, the Italian tricolore, removed from the grid. The Urus sits at the front, ready to go. And the race director, Alain Adon, looking at the clock, counting down, gives the instruction shortly to the next board, the next part of the countdown to be undertaken. And then starts to coordinate the start of the race with these four classes. And we've heard from Guido Luchetti, the best of the pros, Georgi Dimitrov, the best of the Pro-Am, Stefan Tribodini, the best from the Am category, and Karim Auger, the pole in Lamborghini Cup. 1 minute board now shown. So we are almost good to go. Engines fire, and very shortly the cars will accelerate away behind the Urus, ready for the start of this opening race then of the 2025 Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe season. The last engineers head for the pit lane. There's not a great deal they can do from here on in, but the most important part is to make sure the pit stop timing is done correctly. If you are under a second short of the regulation time, then you get a second added on at the end. If you're over a second short of the pit stop, you get 20 seconds and the missing time. So if you are, let's say, 4 seconds short, then you get 20 plus the 4. So being markedly under the pit stop regulation time can have pretty serious consequences. Right, grid is cleared just about of everybody. And so final minute about to be ticked off. The Urus accelerates away. And so now, as the green lights go on, the green flag waved, Enzo Guaracci from one side, Guido Luchetti from pole, set off on this formation lap. And there's one car that's a little bit reluctant to get away. It has got going now, but that was 27 by the look of it. Stefan Lemeret, experienced driver, Stefan, but that car being a bit reluctant. So Guido Luchetti then starts on pole position, Enzo Guaracci with him at the front of the grid, from Georgi Dimitrov then starting third. And Stefan Tribodini will go from fourth. Fifth is where you find Kalle Bergman, and it will be Paul Ricard starting sixth on the grid in number 6, the VSR car. Seventh, Jerzy Spinkovic in the unique racing entry, and eighth will be Stefan Lemeret ahead of Benedetto Strignano and Patrick Fraboni alongside him. Starting 11th, Anthony Pretorius, and another experienced driver, Dimitri Angelbert, will go from 12th on the grid. 13th is Adrian Lewandowski, and to start 14th, it is Pietro Perolini. 15th is Pablo Schum, and then alongside him is Rosario Messina. 17th on the grid, Shatram Kazava, the redoubtable Georgian, and alongside him newcomer Hugo Bach for Boutsen VDS. Then it's Karim Auger, another stalwart racer, lining up alongside Severin Matsur. Next will be Raffaele Giannoni, and it is then Smart Say lining up alongside. Next on the grid, Gerhard Watzinger, back for another season, and Claude-Yves Gosselin, another hugely successful and experienced driver, comes ahead of disabled driver Nigel Bailly, and then Adalberto Baptista, the Brazilian. Next on the grid, it is Alessio Ruffini lining up alongside Kay Rillatz. Holger Halmsen for GT3 Poland starts 29th, with Alfredo Ortega for company, he starts 30th. Then it is Francesco Turzo, and the Primitelio entry started by Luciano. Philippe Tang will be 33rd on the grid at the back, ready to go. Formation lap then is about halfway done as they come up towards senior. 50 minutes then, remember this race. Mandatory pit stops between 20 and 30, with 99 seconds for the two driver cars, 102 seconds for the solo entries, and with a little bit of rubber by the side of the road after a busy day at Paul Ricard. Not the warmest, not the sunniest. We've even had a bit of rain over the course of the afternoon, but the drivers then on a cool day at least know that the engines aren't going to be strangled for power, and the Huracans make a great noise anyway. They're a great sight, brightly coloured, spectacular looking cars, and with these young guns at the front of the grid in the pro class, good race is in prospect, that is for sure. The championship, as I say, returning to the support package for GT World Challenge Europe this year, after a number of races supporting WEC last season, but sort of coming back home this year to the SRO family is Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So the cars here making the run up from the long right of Galabin up towards Virage de la Tour. The last corner is the Virage du Pont. The lead car bails for the pit lane, and so it's up to the black and blue car of Guido Luchetti, the Oregon livery car of Enzo Garacci, to control the pace up towards the timing line. The lights in a moment will change. We'll get the race underway. 2025 season for Lamborghini Super Trofeo then is go, and a good getaway made by Tribodini from the second row of the grid. An even better start by Garacci. Not a really good start in contrast from Guido Luchetti, the poleman. He's been well and truly monstered down into the pack, swallowed up as the car's going to turn one. So Luchetti, fourth at best, as one or two of them skip the corner, couldn't get into the pack, rejoin, but you've got to be careful in that rejoin, otherwise it creates even more mayhem. Cars have to scatter in avoidance. There, 36, Enzo Garacci then running second as they drop down towards the S's for the first time. Turn 3, 4, 5, then they wriggle their way around that, and then you've got the corner at Le Bossé up towards the right then that will take you onto the Mistral corners. Others getting a real mess down at turn 5, scrabbling their way out of the corner. Whoops, one gets turned around completely, and that's Raffaele Giannoni facing the wrong way with a little bit of help. So drama inevitably on this first lap. So as the cars come onto the Mistral straight for the first time, the start's under investigation, but that's perhaps a normality these days, and it's Georgi Dimitrov up from the second row of the grid, number 13, who leads the way. Really good start to lead Enzo Garacci then. Stefan Tribodini next up as the cars come through and trying to go side by side. Jerzy Spinkovic just gets himself ahead, or does he? Because fighting back there, Paul Levet, as they come on to the Mistral straight, and Levet on the inside line retakes the place. So Georgi Dimitrov, great start, really brave through the first couple of corners. He leads the way. In contrast, Guido Luchetti from pole positions trying to rebuild the lap here, having been swallowed up off the grid and losing time. We've got yellow flags within the first sector. You've seen some of the dramas that went on there as 61 goes by. That's the Pietro Perolini Oregon car. He in turn having to try to fend off the efforts of, it looked like Caleb Bergerman, who's fallen back quite a bit over the opening lap of the race. But of course, for those that are new to a Lamborghini, it's all very well doing laps on your own in a practice or qualifying session, but from a rolling start on coldish tyres and then having to race, it's all a bit different. So a lot of learning is going on in this opening round of the championship as the cars now dive down towards the Virage du Pont for the first time and then head up towards the timing line towards the end of lap number 1. Bit of damage there you can see on the front of number 57, which is the K-Rillat's car that he shares with Lucas Valk. Towards the line they come, 18 involved in that big battle as well, you can see as they come towards the line, that being the DL racing car of Chi-Chung Chan. So the leaders go by, and as they do so, it is Georgi Dimitrov ahead of Enzo Garacci, with in third place Benedetto Strignano. Now Strignano started on the 5th row of the grid. He's had an absolutely outstanding first lap. We've got Stefan Tribodini's car out of the race. That's stationary within the first sector. And also Luchetti from pole has pitted, so it wasn't just a bad start. There was a reason for the bad start, and he is in the pit lane then. So the race now takes on a completely different feel, doesn't it, compared to what we were anticipating, given that you've got there the pole driver with a problem, and the car of Trofeo for the second row of the grid out of the race. So 2 star scalps, if you like, in trouble early on. Meanwhile, Georgi Dimitrov leads the way. He will give that car over to Stefan Guerin, who is another quick driver. Enzo Guaracci in second place. Guaracci to Josef Knopp, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a GT4 champion. Out of the chicane they come, 1 or 2 running a little bit wide. There, for example, 88 getting a little bit squirrely up the curb. That is Pablo Schum, the Swiss driver. Still the yellows within that first sector as the cars accelerate through Senior, and you can see the damage done there to Trofeo's car. It's around the right-hand side with either damaged suspension and or a punctured tyre. So that's a legacy, I think, of cars leaving the road, coming back on, and as I mentioned at the time, causing mayhem as everyone else to scatter around it. Georgi Dimitrov, though, trying to get away. Number 6 there, Paul Ricard in a big battle now with 61 Pietro Perolini. He's another one that's made good progress over the first few corners. So a good little battle pack here as the cars make the run once more up to Virage Dupont. Up to the timing line now comes 99 of Holger Harmsen. Makes his way up to the timing line. So Dimitrov leading, and the margin that he's now got is 1.5 seconds. Enzo Guaracci running in second spot. Third is Benedetto Strignano, and also another driver that's made a good fist of the first few laps from being quite a long way back on the grid. Anthony Pretorius running now in 4th place. Now there, 27, Stéphane Lemeray, the very experienced Belgian driver, and trying to make a move here against number 61 of Perolini. Perolini's got ahead of him since they crossed the line, but Lemeray fights back and goes through on the inside line there. So the cars on this third lap, we've got the starts of a couple of them under investigation. One that's being investigated is Benedetto Strignano, maybe because it was such a good start. The other is Anthony Pretorius, maybe because his was such a good start as well. That explains why they're so far up the order. However, that's going to be looked at by the stewards. On track, Georgi Dimitrov leading by 1.5 seconds, but now Enzo Guaracci starting to, so to speak, get on with the programme and doing an absolute best within the first sector. He's closing on the race leader just a touch. Further back there is number 2 going through, which is Hugo Bach, new to the championship this year, and the race leader comes towards us then. So Georgi Dimitrov, who's made quite a name for himself in Lamborghini racing, having raced single-seaters initially, he holds sway by 1.5 seconds at the moment from in second spot Enzo Guaracci. Through they turn, and this will be up towards the end of lap number 3. Strignano then in 3rd place, although there's this investigation hovering over him. We've got track limit warnings coming thick and fast as well, but it's when you get to 4 of them you need to worry about penalties. Here are the 2 leaders, and they've certainly got away from Strignano. Pretorius goes through in 4th place. Dimitri Engelbert is 5th. Kalle Bellerman in 6th spot, and there number 6, now 7th. Paul Ricard ahead of Jerzy Spinkovic next in the queue. Replay of the start. You can see it was a good getaway by Dimitrov, but as we now know, Guido Luchetti with a problem, and so that car getting swallowed up by the pack. And let's try and work out what happened to Trofeo. He's on the outside of the grid. Now, did he get hit by another car coming back onto the circuit? Let's have a look. He's already lost ground at this point. I think he went off himself, didn't he? And yeah, possibly there was an incident that we didn't see going into turn 1 that did the damage, and so Trofeo ends up parking the car coming down towards turn 3. Disappointment for him. Others got themselves in the walls as well coming out of turn 4. Some running wide, others up the escape road, which is how you're meant to rejoin. And Giannoni there coming across the front of others and getting turned around. He has rejoined, albeit down in 24th place. So there are the 2 race leaders then, now on lap number 4, coming up towards the chicane. Georgi Dimitrov still clear for the moment of Guaracci, who is fractionally faster in the first sector, and indeed also did the fastest lap of the race last time around. Bit of a gap back after Strignano to Anthony Pretorius, who runs in 4th place. Stefan Lemeray, incidentally, the very Belgian liveried car, has done the absolute best within the first sector as he pushes on. Absolute best in the second sector to Guaracci, who is chasing after the race leader. And in the meantime, the classes, Pro-Am for Dimitrov, Pro for Guaracci, Am for Lemeray, and Lamborghini Cup at the moment, Karim Auger, who is in 17th spot. Through Le Beausset they turn, this being lap number 4. Enzo Guaracci still having done that fastest lap of the race and hovering around the 1.3 second mark, fractionally closer at the end of the previous lap. Here, Paul Ricard looking for a way to get back onto terms with Kalle Bergerman in number 44. Bergerman, who is another driver coming into the championship last year, so now second season, a little bit more experience. Another driver that came out of karts and single-seaters before taking the sports car and GT route to good effect. Paul Ricard tucked up behind him, who drove in the championship last year. He's got Adam Patera, Malaysian kart champion, as his co-driver. So the leaders go by, and 1.2 seconds is now the gap between the top two, so it's down a little bit further. Let's go to the pit lane because Dakota has managed to catch up with more people. Let's head to the pits.
Piero, obviously a massive, massive disappointment. Being AM champions of last year to having crashed out in the first race. You must be hopeful for tomorrow though, at least.
First of all, this weekend was not a fantastic weekend for us because, I mean, Stefano made a fantastic quali, but was not so lucky. He had a little contact, probably at the first corner that I have not seen. And for me, the program for tomorrow is to try to push a lot, to stay as front as possible.
E tu vuoi detto un po' di parole per tua famiglia?
Un saluto a tutti, fate il tifo per me, un abbraccio.
And what I said is, do you want to say a few words for your friends and family at home, obviously? He hopes for tomorrow, and good luck.
Thanks a lot, thanks a lot.
So Pierre Giacomo Randazzo, class champion last year, doesn't even get in the car today. As far as the opening race is concerned, the damage for Stefan Tribodny putting him out early on. Big disappointment, therefore, as that lead gap continues to just be chipped away by Enzo Garacci, down to 1.2 seconds now. Another battle pack here coming up towards the chicane. You can see another of the Oregon cars heading the queue. Number 14 it is, which is the entry of Adalberto Baptista, the Brazilian driver new to Super Trofeo. He's dropped back actually over the last lap. He's lost a place, and there is a car that should not look like that, I'm afraid to say, without a rear wheel. Pablo Schrum's race is most definitely at an end. He's on the outside of Lebose, but that, I suspect, is going to end up with an interruption to get that car out of harm's way. It's a long way off the racetrack, granted, but if anybody else has a moment, they're going to strike the car. Now, we have done, that car has done, 4 laps, and then a wheel parts company, so you can't put it down to finger trouble. It would have come off sooner, so something has happened to create that, and therefore out of the race, Pablo Schum. Leaders go by, lead gap down a little bit further now, 11/10 of a second. So Enzo Garacci still chasing after Georgi Dimitrov. Somebody else on a big mission here, you can see, diving down towards turn 1 on the outside line. That is in number 7, Karim Auger, charging along. Karim Auger, who's been racing for many seasons, initially in Formula Palmer Audi, then in sports cars and GTs. Loves his Super Trofeo racing, very quick driver, that sort of dual livery, white on one side, black on the other. Comes down towards the 345S out of Virage de l'Hôtel. You can see the aerodrome in the background down towards the Virage du Camp. And with that yellow flag still out in the 3rd sector, that's going to affect how hard people are pushing through the right-hander, the long double apex right-hander of Lebose this time. There are other battles, though, still to be resolved. There's another one here, look, heading up towards the chicane on the Mistral. Leaders going up towards Sini with a gap down, perhaps a little bit more. Georgi Dimitrov, after that demon start, still having to work hard to fend off the challenge of Enzo Garacci right now. 3rd is Benedetto Strignano. Behind him is Anthony Pretorius. There in 6th place, Kalle Bergerman goes through, and behind Bergerman you've got Paul Ricard, the French driver. Jerzy Spinkovic will be next, and there is Stéphane Lemray, a class-leading 9th. Now behind him is Pietro Perolini. They've traded the class lead within AM, but now that he's got himself back ahead, Lemray looks like he's establishing himself. Double winner in LMP3 in the Asian Le Mans Series back end of last year. Safety car deployed, perhaps not surprisingly given the dramas that have befallen Pablo Schum. So safety car on track, and our first Super Trofeo race of the year in Europe, and our first interruption as well. So safety car deployed. That, of course, is going to have the effect of bunching up the pack. So although Enzo Garacci was not that far behind Georgi Dimitrov anyway, he'll be even closer once the safety car period has done. There you can see the reason for the safety car. Pablo Schum's car out of the race, and in replay, you can hear it. Wheel off, just shears off, doesn't it? The car spins. Scary moment for a driver. There goes the tyre. So that's the reason for the retirement, which in turn is the reason for the safety car to get the car out of harm's way. So, safety car on track. One or two drivers breathe a sigh of relief for the moment, but not Georgi Dimitrov, who was trying to build that gap and now finds himself in more jeopardy, really, once we are back ready to go racing. Field coming out of turn 5, short straight to 6, which is a longish corner. 7 is the left that takes you onto the Mistral, and then the speed builds under normal circumstances. Not right now, though, not while you're being controlled by the safety car, which loosely goes at motorway speeds. This is the view on board. Alessio Ruffini you are riding with, who is 22nd overall. He's another in the Pro-Am category and is currently 4th in Pro-Am, some way down the order therefore. Most recent track limit warning has fluttered in the direction of Gerhard Watzinger. He's one of the soloists. Safety car, I think, is trying to go fairly slowly so that they don't lose too many laps under the safety car, and also to give the marshals and the recovery crew more time over at Le Beausset. It's a long lap anyway, of course, the Paul Ricard circuit, over 5 kilometres long, but trying to make sure that there's plenty of time so they can maybe even get the car moved out of harm's way now. You need a recovery vehicle nearby, you need to get the stricken car on the back of it, and indeed the safety car in this lap. So quickly get the recovery vehicle there, lift the Lamborghini off the circuit, and then we'll go back racing. So we've had that legend on the message line, safety car in this lap, and that means therefore that Georgi Dimitrov starts to back them all up, now ready to floor the throttle and try and jump away from Enzo Guarracci. We have only got now just under 5 minutes before the pit window opens anyway, so race control quite happy to get things back underway, and then it's a natural race into the window itself. There, Dimitrov just gives another left, right, left jink to the car, gets a bit more warmth into the Hankook tyres. Can't overtake, of course, until you get to the timing line. So a general clear-up operation, not only the car of Pablo Schum, but also I can see being brought back the damaged car of Stefan Tribodini. So the circuit being made clear. Lights out on the safety car. It sprints away into the pit lane. We are ready to go, therefore, because now to the Virage Dupont will come Georgi Dimitrov, and behind him is Enzo Guarracci, then Benedetto Strignano, Anthony Pretorius in the blue and red car in 4th, Dimitri Engelbert 5th, who is actually 2nd to Dimitrov in Pro-Am. So we're back racing then, 34 minutes on the clock. It is blast off. Drivers, you can see, just moving around the racetrack, trying to get the temperatures back up, the pressures back up, as well as in the background. A big, big dive comes from Paul Levet, and he goes through on the inside of Calaberman there. So Levet, number 6, goes through, gains a place. That is for overall and also in the pro class. So it's an important fight that between those two. And Paul Levet takes the place then as they come now out of turn 3. And is there contact? Very nearly there between 4th and 5th. That was Anthony Pretorius being able to close the door against Dimitri Engelbert, who's been racing for a lot longer. Engelbert has raced in FIA GT3, in Renaults, in prototypes, you name it, as well as Lamborghinis. Trying to put the experience to good use, couldn't quite do it on the inside line. Here are the leaders then, with Dimitrov trying to get clear. He will give that car over to Stefan Gerhardt, remember. Enzo Guarracci will hand over number 36, the second place car, to Josef Knopp. And as they make that run again along the Mistral straight up towards the chicane, 3rd and staying with them this time is Benedetto Strignano there in the white and black and blue livery. Pretorius a bit busy defending from Engelbert, who in turn has got now Paul Levet not too far behind him as they come out of the chicane. They are probably going to get one more lap, I would have thought, after this before they need to think about the pit stops. And if somebody arrives backwards in the background, that's one of the Oregon cars. Now, who is that has gone and missing? We'll try and piece it together in a moment. The car is Adalberto Baptista's. Well, he's had a bit of a yo-yo race anyway, up and down the order. And Baptista will try to get going again, but he's rather badly delayed. You can see how many cars came streaming past him. I was going to say, if you've got your quick driver in first, you're going to want him to stay out for as long as possible. If you've got your slower driver in, you'll want him in as soon as possible. In other words, maximise the time for the quicker driver. if it's an evenly matched pair, it doesn't really make any difference. It's more perhaps managing the traffic that will force the pit stop. Here, up the inside line goes Dimitri Engelbert, but that's the outside line for Virage Dupont. Number 74 is Engelbert. Anthony Pretorius on the inside stands his ground, keeps the place. Good defensive move. So Engelbert has the pace, but he hasn't found the gap yet as they come up towards the timing line once more. Through they go. Lead gap under a second now, 0.9 between Dimitrov and Garacci. Another big look on the inside from Levet against Engelbert. Engelbert has a look up the inside of Pretorius. So 5th, 6th, 7th, all busy squabbling as they come through. Calabelliamin in 7th place on the back of this train. And a time penalty of 10 seconds has been given for somebody for overtaking outside the track at the start, but we've not been given the car's number. So 10-second time penalty for overtaking outside the track. Car 15 and car 99. So one of them is Pretorius and 15 is Benedetto Strignano. So the two that did make good starts being looked at. Somebody's made a real mess there going down towards turn 4 and has to go up the escape road. So what that now means is, as you go on board here, this is the reason for board dramas. 33 goes around. That is Alessio Ruffini. It means that you've got Strignano with this penalty, and that's number 15, and Pretorius. They started on the 5th and 6th rows of the grid respectively, but by going off the track to overtake, the stewards have copped them with this 10-second penalty, and that's going to be served or added in at the end of the race, presumably. Right, while that's been going on, Dimitrov still leads Garacci. There, number 74 is Engelbert going deep at Le Beausset, and that gives half a chance to Paul Levet to have a look at the inside, but couldn't quite make it work. The race leaders currently are on lap number 9. So Levet on the back of Engelbert, charging along behind Calabelliamin. You can see Jesse Spinkovic in the Unique Racing entry, and the race leaders coming up to the end of lap number 9, and the pit window is now open, in fact. So if you're towards the rear of the pack, and certainly if you're an AM or a Lamborghini Cup class racer, you might want to get the pit stop done now, nice and early, get it out of the way. Meanwhile, Dimitrov, 11/10 up on Garacci, goes by, trying to stretch that margin just a little. The penalised Strignano 3rd, the penalised Pretorius 4th, and another big push comes here down towards turn 1, diving to the inside line there, and successfully so as well, you can see, is number 12, Shota Abkazova goes through. Abkazova runs a little bit wide, and that potentially is going to give the opportunity back. Sario Messina involved in this battle pack as well as others, so lots of squabbling going on, plus Patrick Fraboni. Fraboni in number 9 is the black car that's fallen back behind, so Abkazova defends. Fraboni new to the championship, slots in behind him, and then it is Messina ahead of number 79, which is the GT3 Poland car of Severin Mathieu next up. So, have we had anybody for the pit? Yes, the Privitellios have pitted. Luciano to give way to Donovan. Adalberto Baptista is in. After his spin, Alessio Ruffini is in. So some of these regulation mandatory pit stops are now starting to cycle through. And Giorgio Dimitrov staying out, at least for the moment. It's only a fairly short window, 10 minutes, and given that a flying lap here is just under for the quicker cars, 2 minutes 5, doesn't give you many options to play with. There turning through is Calabelliamin in 44. Behind Belliamin is 25, Jesse Spinkovic. Both of them in the pro class. They are 7th and 8th overall. 5th and 6th in class. And Spinkovic there in the very smart Unique Racing entry. A little bit of a twitch as he headed then on towards the Virage de la Tour. Leaders come through. In fairness to Georgi Dimitrov, since the safety car, he's been able to build that gap, it would appear. I think Strignano is amongst those diving for the pit lane this time. Here are the race leaders. So Georgi Dimitrov goes through, breaks the beam, and the advantage still hovering around the 11/10 mark. Into the pits you can see Strignano and also Pretorius. Spinkovic is in, Pietro Perolini is in, Patrick Fraboni is in, Shota Abkazova is in. So more and more and more of them now serving the mandatory stop. Some cars, remember, have one driver, some have two. If you've got a two-driver entry, it's a slightly shorter pit stop. It's longer for the soloists because they have an advantage by knowing what the car and the track feels like. and it doesn't take them as long to get up to speed on the out lap. 13 goes by. The race leading Georgi Dimitrov, so from third on the grid. Good getaway and holding sway against Enzo Garacci. The multicoloured Oregon team car, their familiar colours. And now you're also heading towards Lapridge, you can see. So some of those cars that have served the regulation stop back on track, but being caught by the race leaders. So that's something else now for Dimitrov to think about. He's pondered how to defend, but now he needs to make sure that he can nip through the traffic as quickly as possible without losing any time. Getting confirmation of a drama for Baptista. We'd seen that one. I don't think he's had a second, so just confirming on the timing screen to the teams that Adalberto Baptista has had his drama at the chicane a few laps back. There's his teammate going by, Enzo Garacci. So they're coming up to the first of the lappery, and you can see now with pit stops having taken place out of the leading group behind the top two, there's quite a gap between the leaders and anybody else, at least for the moment. Next wave of cars into the pit lane. Of course, it's a long pit lane, so some are coming in, some are going out. The timing line is midway down the pit lane as well, just to confuse life at times. So there, 99, Anthony Pretorius gives way to Silas Rutter. Enzo Garacci, does he come in this time? No, he does not. Giorgio Dimitrov has not yet got past the slower car ahead of him, just trying to identify the back marker as they come up towards the timing line once more, heading towards the end of lap 11. 33 it is that they are trying to put a lap on, and that was Alessio Ruffini. Now Milos Pavlovic has taken over. Now Pavlovic is very, very quick indeed, so don't expect that to be an easy pass. He's trying to rebuild that car's race, if you like, and get back onto terms for a class position. Last thing he's going to do is back off and let Georgi Dimitrov go by. So Pavlovic on a mission, and you can see he's catching up to others that have also come out of the pit lane. So now this would, you would think, be an opportune time for Dimitrov to get in the pit lane, serve the stop, and more importantly than anything, get out of the traffic. Number 15 there. Back on track is Benedetto Strignano. So Strignano, after the mandatory stop served, presses on, but don't forget that's another of the cars with a penalty that it carries in his second year in the championship. Hugo back for Boutsen VDS, making his pit stop to give way to Renault Coupens. The Boutsen part of the team is here. Thierry Boutsen, who was standing outside the window a few moments ago, overseeing the team's efforts from on high, looking down into the pit lane. Good to have him here. Holger Harmsen's number 90 entry you've just seen go through. Right, now that you've got through the first stint, the track limit warnings for all cars have been reset. So the incoming driver can, so to speak, fill his boots, push on as hard as he wants. 36, Enzo Garacci into Labose, still chasing after Georgi Dimitrov, and you can see that Milos Pavlovic just up the road is starting to creep away slightly, getting a little bit further away. There over the timing line come further battles. That is going to be the car of Rutter, and turns through ahead of the car of Benedetto Strignano. That means that they've switched on the stops, haven't they? Because Strignano was ahead earlier, so they've switched on the pit stops because, of course, the two-driver car has a 3-second shorter stop, and they are the leading pit stoppers for the moment. Up towards the line comes Pavlovic in the green car, headlights ablaze. Then the top two in the race yet to stop. Dimitrov and Garacci go by, and that margin is down to 7/10 now, so Dimitrov losing a little bit of time in the traffic, bit of a twitch as well coming into turn one, has to sort that out, which he does, goes by, and the CMR entry still leads the way. CMR, the classic modern racing car, there it is, and despite the traffic, Dimitrov, as you see, has not yet pitted, so the team therefore giving him the longer stint, the quicker of the two over Stefan Guerin, came out of French GT4 racing. Enzo Garacci and Josef Knopp, I would have thought, were pretty similar in pace, but Garacci doing the lion's share at least today. Through the tree, they come up towards the Mistral straight. Nice arty shot of the top two, and the margin 0.7 of a second coming on to this lap 13. 22 3/4 minutes remain. More stops. 4 classes, of course, the order potentially to be shuffled around that. 18 is the one that you can see there, serving the regulation stop for Alex Chan to give way to Smart Say. race leaders up towards senior, and they are falling away from Milos Pavlovic all the time. So Pavlovic illustrating his pace now in number 33. He's 25th overall. That's a Pro-Am car, as of course is the one behind him, the outright race leader for the moment, Georgi Dimitrov's car. That's in Pro-Am as well. Pavlovic, I guess, is going to be a fair bit quicker than Stefan Guerin, given what he's achieved in the past, but a lot of time has been lost. That said, he'll buy back a fair chunk of time, 99 seconds worth, when the lead car makes it stop, and it's going to have to be imminent, isn't it, like this lap? I don't think they can squeeze another lap out of this stint. So into the pits they come. Dimitrov in, Garacci in, and they have to get right down to that 50km/h pit lane speed limit. So Pavlovic gets a free ride, if you like. He's doing absolute bests in sectors. He's absolutely charging. The fastest lap has been done by Garacci, but he now bails and gives that car over to Josef Knop. In the meantime, here, Benedetto Strignano fending off number 99, currently in the hands of Silas Rutter. A Danish driver taking over that car for the second stint. There it is, a quick flash of the lights to try to distract the man ahead. So they come now up towards the chicane, and as they do so, the margin just a little bit less. Strignano under attack, no question about it, because they're charging along behind is Silas Rutter, number 99, but let's see how brave he is to make a dive. Not at senior, I don't suspect. Race leaders then, serving the stops. Silas Rutter moving from Carrera Cup to Lamborghini Super Trofeo for this year. And the Danish driver there turns through, up the inside, goes by, nicely done. Benedetto Strignano way, way wide, deep into Le Beausset, goes through, picks up the place. So Silas Rutter goes through, Benedetto Strignano having already got this penalty, as in fairness, as number 99. Now, as the two of them run nose to tail, these are the cars they're catching that are still sitting in the pit lane, finishing off the regulation pit stops then, ready to blast back on track in a moment. And there they are. They'll stay ahead, but not by that much. So it's going to be an interesting second stint, this, with just under 20 minutes remaining. So there, number 13 keeps the lead now with Stefan Guerin at the wheel of it. 36 behind will now become Josef Knop. And then the order behind will shuffle accordingly. We'll see who is going to be where as they dive through turn 1. 44 there now with Mons Tallinn at the wheel. Goes through, fending off the traffic behind. So at the end of this next lap, we'll get an idea of the proper order as the cars then sprint their way down towards that S at turns 3, 4 and 5. Through they turn, so pit stops all done. And as they accelerate their way now along that little short straight, these are the top two. They were before the pit stops, they still are. And so as they come once more onto the Mistral straight, it is Stefan Guerin ahead of Josef Knop. They're both settling in then, so they've just got fresh into the car. They need to be on the money absolutely straight away. But here, you can see they're trying to get up to speed as quickly as possible. Get a feel for what the cars are like, what the brakes are like, what the tyres are like, indeed what the track itself is like. We'll see whether or not they're going to be caught as well, but you would say to the eye at the minute that it's unlikely. They've got a big, big gap over the opposition, and in the background it looks as though number 44 was off the road there, Kalle Bergman having given way to Mons Tallinn, and that car making a mess in the background of the chicane on the Mistral straight, so the order shuffles accordingly. Stefan Lemere's car still in the pit lane. Window now is closed. So did he come in too late? If he missed the window, I fear he may have done, then that's going to be a penalty in itself. So we'll keep an eye over number 27. But if he pitted in the window, he's been there a long, long time. But he has, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. So he might just have got away with it. Here's the lead battle, and then nose to tail, as you see now. Josef Knop coming right up onto the tail of Guerin. They're in different classes, of course. So Guerin leading the race, also leading Pro-Am. In a sense, he could afford to let Knop go. Yeah, he'd love to win the race, but it's not really his fight against a pro-class car. It's Pro-Am points that he's after for the championship. Over the line they go. The lead gap now 0.4 of a second. Increasingly, you get the feeling it is when, not if, Knop can go by into the lead. Stefan Guerin then through turn 1. We've got a yellow at turn 7, and that is the left-hander that takes you onto the Mistral straight. So they're heading towards it. Try and piece together who has gone off the racetrack, as dropping down now towards turn 4 they come. And it's a number 14 Oregon entry, and that means that it is Adalberto Baptista again that is in the wars. By the look of it, he's looped it coming onto the Mistral, and there's a bit of damage, I think a bit of debris just by the side of the car. The race director will give him time to fire up the engine if he can and get the car away. He clips the curb, he goes wide, he comes across the road and wallop, front and back, into the tyres. So what you see lying by the side of the car is the rear wing. It's not massive damage, but now the car doesn't want to restart by the look of it. So that may need another interruption for the retrieval of said Oregon car. The other quick Oregon car in the race of Josef Knopp, right on the back now of Stefan Guerin. 16.5 minutes are still on the clock as they come now up into the right-hander of Signy once again. Behind them now, the car in third place is 99 of Silas Rutte. Behind him in fourth, looks like being Adam Patera in number 6, the Malaysian. There, fifth is Benedetto Strignano. And in sixth place should be Anthony Nara now, who's taken over from Dimitri Enjolbert. Safety car lights are flashing. And the safety car, I fear, is going to be deployed again. It's not yet come up on the timing screen to confirm that, but the yellow lights are flashing on the gantry out of my window here. So we've got a yellow flag in turn 7, but by the look of what we can see around the circuit, the safety car is a-coming with just under 16 minutes of the race to go. So the leaders come out of the Virage du Pont, and behind the timing graphic you can just see, yes, a safety car light, a safety car board. Now there's the confirmation of it. Safety car on track for the second time. So it's keeping them busy in race control, this. First race of the weekend here at Paul Ricard. And the safety car deployed. So further bad news for Stefan Guerin. He had to watch Georgi Dimitrov cope with the safety car earlier. Now he's got to do it himself. But equally, it's bad news for Knopp, because now he's got Silas Rutte, he's got Anthony Patera, Benedetto Strignano, Anthony Nara. They're all queued up behind. Mons Tallinn, Jerzy Spinkovics. Then it'll only be a one-lap safety car period, we gather. But they've all bunched up, and safety cars can trigger safety cars, so it's going to be a bit leery on the restart, maybe. Bunch them all up. Everybody wants to go for a place on the run to the first corner, especially given that we're running out of minutes, 14 of them at the moment, and it'll be a little bit less than that by the time they've worked their way around the 5.7 kilometres of the Circuit Le Castellet. There is Renaud Kuppens up into the top 10 and third in Pro-Am now, taking that car over from Hugo Bach. You can see Josef Knopp and also Stefan Guerin weaving around, getting warmth into the tyres. Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov late to the entry list, so good to have them in the race, especially doing so well there. Murphy's Law, isn't it? You send the safety car out and the driver in question gets going again. Adalberto Baptista back into the pit lane, so he's driven the car back. You can see all the scrutineering tickets on the inside of the roll cage, the piratical Oregon logo on the back, and Baptista then in the pit, so the road is clear. So that's why it's just going to be this brief one-lap interruption. 13 3/4 minutes now on the clock. You can see on the top of that timing graphic, the clock ticks on down. First of 2 races, the second one coming up tomorrow at Paul Ricard, starting at around about 12 noon. So the field coming towards Le Beausset. Many of the corners named after nearby towns or focal points like the hotel or the campsite. So lights out atop the safety car, and Josef Knopp ready to have a go. Let's hear the thoughts of Enzo Garacci. Can his co-driver get into the race lead? Let's quickly go to the pits.
Enzo, now I've just heard that the lights have gone out in the safety car, so we're probably going to get back way racing pretty soon. Your teammates in the car, Joseph, he's a new teammate for you, obviously losing Leonardo last year. So how have you been as a teammate? You know, you're obviously part of the Young Drivers program. You've been in Super Trofeo before. It's Jacob's first year. So have you been giving him some tips?
Yeah, I'm helping him a bit because this car is really particular to drive. Nothing compared to what he's done before. GT4 is a really different car from the Super Trofeo. So I give him some tips, how to get faster, how to use more the tires. Yeah, and he's a good guy, and we had a good relationship right now.
And what tips have you given him? Obviously, this is your home track. Have you given any secret circuit specials?
This is maybe my home track, but then I don't drive a lot on it. The last race that I've done was in 2022 over here in Formula 4, so not the same car. But I try to give him some tips with the experience that I have a Super Trofeo.
Now let's talk about the race. Obviously, second position, but the people in front of you are in Pro-Am, so the Am's in the car at the moment. So you got a good chance. Do you think you have a good chance of passing and getting the lead?
I hope so, because even if we're first of our category, it will be great to finish the line first also. So yeah, he had a good pace, so I hope he will pass him.
Any concerns at the moment?
No, not really.
Let's see how you go. Good luck. Bonne chance.
So it's all kicked off, as you've seen, and rather than gaining a place, Josef Knop has lost a place, but we might have another safety car period because we've got two in the gravel now. One of them is Severin Matsur. In the background, it looks as though it's the car of Gustav Wisniewski that's the other one in the gravel. It all is down at turn 5. Let's see in the replay, there was a bit of leaning there. And up towards turn 6, bang, contact. Yeah, so one into the side of another. And Wisniewski had to take evasive action and got himself in the gravel. That's going to get looked at from race control, I would have thought. But it is Silas Rutter up into second place at the expense of Josef Knop. Surely we're going to have a safety car to get those two out of harm's way with 10 minutes to go. So, yeah, as you were hearing, Enzo Garacci, his car was losing a place rather than gaining. And now the lead has changed as well because Silas Rutter has gone through. So a really impressive stint this for Silas Rutter. 2 places gained, and he has put himself into the race lead at about the right moment, hasn't he? Because our third safety car period is called. I did say safety cars breed safety cars, and you can see why, because they're that close little situation. And safety car number 3 is deployed with 10 minutes of the race to go. This could be quite crucial for Silas Rutter then up front. So it is Rutter from Geram, still leading Pro-Am. Josef Knop down to third. Enzo Garacci might not have had any concerns, as he was explaining in the interview, but he should do now because they've dropped a place overall and lost the class lead. So that's the other car that was in strife, by the way. Just as we went to the pit lane, we had Mols Tallinn have a spin coming up to the green flag, and it was coming then through the Virage de la Tour that we had the lead change. Silas Rutter going ahead of there, number 13 of Stefan Guerin, who is still leading his class. So all is okay in that respect. Behind is Josef Knop, who really is going to have to dig deep now. Then you've got Adam Patera in the white VSR car in 4th place. Patera, who is a Malaysian Championship Series winner when he drove a Honda Civic. Very good carter back home. The Malaysian Championship Series is a sort of catch-all saloon and sports car series, but he went very well in that a few seasons back. In the classes, Shotrab Kazova now is your leading AM, and Karim Ogier, Twas is the leading Lamborghini Cup entrant. So 9 minutes on the clock. Drivers getting themselves through the incident zone. Super Trofeo, as we rather anticipated, giving us a frantic race. Number 4 is the car of Claude-Yves Gosselin. If you go back a long, long way, Claude-Yves, Formula 3000 racer. He was part of the Paul Belmondo racing team in the late 1990s in FIA GT, effectively the forerunner to GT World Challenge Europe. He's raced in the European Le Mans Series, in the John Mangalezzi International Sports Racing Series, you name it. There is the leading AM, Shotrab Kazava, in the Artline car. Circuit owner, championship promoter, racer, sort of motorsport impresario, really, Shotrab Kazava, and a good character. His son carrying on the lineage, raced at Macau last year in the single-seater race, the Grand Prix. So the Abkazovas, a good motor racing family. And here the cars turning their way up from Signes. You can see the bits of rubber junk to the side of the road offline. That's going to get more so as the afternoon goes on, because after Super Trofeo, 6 hours of GT3 action will be underway, and Lamborghini plays a pretty important part in that. The incident that's caused this safety car period is going to be investigated at the end of the race. It was between, as you saw, the GT3 Poland car of Severin Matsur, and in avoidance, 34 of Gustav Wisniewski. But I think Mazur was a little bit aggrieved to have lost a place, and here it is again in replay. There was no gap there. He tagged the back of, was that Pavlovic's car? But yeah, that was not a move. He may have misjudged it and tagged the back, but it was certainly not a gap to aim for a place. Safety car in at the end of this lap. We've got just under 7 minutes to go, and the safety car starts its last lap through. So that was, for the leaders, 3.5 minutes. So we're going to end up with 2 racing laps potentially. So they're 1 car out of the gravel. The nice thing about Paul Ricard is there are lots of different layouts, lots of different cut-throughs. So you can, once the race is neutralised to allow people onto the circuit, you can get cars move quite swiftly. There, the rest of them turn through. Milos Pavlovic, by the way, having talked about his pace early on, he's now up into 12th overall. He's still 4th in class, but he's done a good job. And you never know, might be able to gain further ground before the end of the race. Second in Pro-Am is up for grabs between number 74 of Anthony Hanara and number 2 of Renaud Kuppens. And those cars will fight it out to the end. But Stefan Guerin is way up the road as the class leader there, number 70. That is Gerhard Watzinger, soloist. Watzinger is in 16th place overall. And that car carrying the CrowdStrike colours, sponsors of the 24 Hours of Spa. You can see in the background the big banner urging you to get your ticket for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. When is it? It's the last weekend of June. Why should I go? Because it's epic, and because Belgium makes brilliant beer, and it's a wonderful circuit, and it's a busy timetable with lots and lots of racing. From the moment we go live on the track on Thursday, it's never still, and there's also the parade into town on the Wednesday and the autograph session in the town, which has a great atmosphere. It is a really, really great event, the 24 Hours of Spa. If you've not been, this is the year, I promise you. Pit stop of number 38 is under investigation. 38 is Philip Tang's car that's in 28th place, and it's actually in the pits now, so even though it's still there, something happened to trigger the interest of race control. 27 there is the car that was started by Stéphane Lamberet, now Rodrigue Gillon at the wheel, but it's dropped a long, long way back. It was a long stop anyway, and it's now in 24th place, out of sequence, a lap down. So, the final work being completed at the entrance to the Mistral Straight, at the other end of which the right-hander of Signe awaits for the safety car to turn through. It will go by. The rest of the pack all queued up behind, and as they wriggle their way up now towards Le Beausset, Matteo Milani, the safety car driver, turns into that long double apex right. As he does so, we are on lap number 19. We've got 4 minutes of the race to go. The lights are out, so the safety car will be in this time, and it's up to Silas Löwenrutter to control the pace and then try and build that gap. So number 99, it's got this penalty from when Anthony Pretorius effectively overtook by going outside the white lines off the start. 10 seconds applied to number 99, so bear in mind that before the end of the race. You've got to factor that in as well, so it could be a provisional win when it crosses the line. So Silas Rutter, impressive stint that he's done, but he's going to have to push like crazy now and hope that Guerin is so busy defending that allows him to get away. But I don't think he's going to get very far up the road in 3 minutes and change, which is what we've got on the clock. 2 laps, I reckon, is what we can squeeze out of it. Rutter pulls the pin at the last moment, coming out of the Virage Dupont turn 15, and we go racing now, then down towards the first corner, the Est de la Verrière, and indeed Rutter has got away as now finally Joseph Knop comes up to have a go at Silas Rutter, at Stefan Guerin for second place, and he's cleared him, but it's a bit too late because he makes a mistake going into the first corner. Guerin gets back up the inside of him, up the curb, bounces Knop. In the background, there's an all rather crossed up number 6 of Adam Patera, and he's gone exit stage right and taken others with him, I think, so the order shuffles again. Silas Rutter is getting away. He's timed it nicely, but whether he can clear 10 seconds, I rather doubt. However, Guerin is second. In third place is Knop after his little moment. Up into fourth, he's trying to come Strignano. Spinkovic gets run out wide. Up the inside of him now goes Pedrini, number 9. Spinkovic can't get back into the pack. He does so eventually just ahead of Anthony Nara. Causes Nara a bit of a moment, standing on the brakes. So the leaders come onto the Mistral straight, and absolutely Silas Rutter is charging clear. Rutter up front. He was 1 second to the good when they crossed the line. Only another 9 to make up then. Into the chicane they come. And now you can see up the inside Benedetto Strignano, another penalised driver, goes third. So Josef Knopp here is dropping places. Rather than attacking for the race lead, he's found himself down in 4th place. And Stefan Guerin still leads in Pro-Am. So Strignano right up behind him. He's been quick all race. Benedetto Strignano for Scuderia Vioba Corsa. Solo driver. Minute and 3/4 to go. White, blue, black delivery of Benedetto Strignano's car. There's a bit of a gap on the inside at Le Beausset. He's going to try and force the issue. Nicely done, because eventually Guerin has to give way. There's a squeal of tyres in the background as somebody has got a bit of a wayward line into Le Beausset. We'll try and pick up who it is in a moment as the order will shuffle. Possibly Spinkovic. There is a 20-second time penalty for a pit stop infringement heading the way of Philip Tang. But it matters not, because he's still in the pits and effectively out of the race. Leaders come down towards the Virage Dupont then. Back into the mix also now looks come number 9 of Giacomo Pedrini. So the leader, Silas Rutter, comes up towards the line. As he does so, they're going to start the last lap. Less than a lap time left in the race now. And Rutter leads by 4.5 seconds. It's going to be a big lead, but not big enough, I fear. Strignano is up in the 2nd place now. Guerin is 3rd, Knopp 4th, Pedrini is 5th, Patera in 6th place. They came over the line. 7th is Spinkovic, 8th is Nara, 9th is Pavlovic, who is still behind Nara for 2nd in class, but not anymore, look, because the green car of Milos Pavlovic is level as they come down towards turn 3 and 4. Knopp's lost another place now as Patera shuffles him back in the pack. Jerzy Spinkovic was 7th at the start of the lap. He gets up the inside. So Josef Knopp is having a nightmare stint here. Once you put off your line, off your stride, off your rhythm, it all conspires against you. And further back, did Pavlovic manage to clear Anthony Nara? The answer seemingly is yes. And straight away there, look, Pavlovic is onto the back of Josef Knopp. Or Josef Drop, as he is at the moment, because he's losing place after place after place. Leaders going to the chicane. So Silas Rutter up front. He really needed, I suppose, Guerin to hang on to that 2nd place and keep defending, because while people were stuck behind him, it gave Rutter the chance of a bigger lead. However, the car that's chasing after him is another one with a penalty, don't forget, Benedetto Strignano. So that might, in the final outcome, help him a little bit here. The cars now make that run through Signy for the last time. And as they do so, the clock has hit 0. We've still got Guerin leading in Pro-Am. We've still got Abkazova leading in Am. We've still got Ogier leading in the Lamborghini Cup section of the race. And the cars now come through Le Beausset, through that right-hander. And then back onto the power. Silas Rutter up front then, as there you can see number 99. The car from the Leipzig Motorsport team has been well driven, but the only fly in the ointment is that penalty for the start infringement. So let's see what can be the ultimate outcome for Silas Rutter and Anthony Pretorius. Checkered flag is waved. On the road, it is a win for Rutter, but we'll wait and see. Strignano is behind him, but that's another car with a penalty. So Stefan Guerin for 3rd, coming up towards the line. Does he hang on in there? Let's see. Over the line they go. Guerin is 3rd, 8.5 seconds back. So that, I suspect, is not going to be enough to preserve the win for Rutter. It is Giacomo Pedrini for 4th. And the penalties are now being applied. So Rutter will be 4th with the penalty. And where does Strignano drop to? 14th. So Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov are indeed the race winners. 8.5 seconds back they were. That's enough to inherit the win, even though they were 3rd across the road timing line. So there, well done, Stefan Guerin, and a class win, and a Pro-Am wins outright. That doesn't happen that often. So bravo to the pair of them. Really good effort, that. Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov then victorious. And they will make the run back towards the pit lane with a very impressive stint by Georgi Dimitrov to take the race lead. A very impressive stint by Stefan Guerin. He may not have had the pace of those around him, but he was able to withstand the pressure very, very effectively indeed. So a job well done, no question about it. So the drivers now will make their way for this cool-down lap to the pit lane. Stefan Guerin, Georgi Dimitrov win outright and Pro-Am. Second then is the winning Pro, which in the end was number 9 of Patrick Fraboni and Giacomo Pedrini. The winning Am on the last lap was Adrian Lewandowski. Got ahead of Shotrab Kazava on the last lap and just pipped him to the line by 0.04 of a second. So Lewandowski wins Am, but Karim Auger hangs on to the honours in the Lamborghini Cup part of the race. So excellent stuff from Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, opening race of the season. Plenty of drama, 3 safety cars, rather lay claim to that, but some good racing, good mix of battles across the classes, and Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov, the British driver, coming out on top. Even on that last lap, proof of how hard he was trying, Silas Rutter did his fastest lap of the race, the car's best, personal best sector, so he was pushing. He knew exactly what he had to overcome. That's Adrian Lewandowski then, the winner of the Am category. Milos Pavlovic in the end got second in Pro-Am, 4th overall. Their number 5 is Lewandowski, carrying on the tradition of his very successful father, who's been a mainstay of Lamborghini racing for quite a few seasons, and clearly he's taught Adrian well. So Super Trofeo's second race tomorrow lunchtime, from a totally different grid set in a different qualifying session, and of course the times in many cases by the driver that's just finished the race here. So it's a different order to start off with, and it'll give us a different feel for the race, certainly in that first stint, that's for sure. So the cars come down the pit lane. Happy teams, happy drivers. Some will be marshalled to the presentation area. Some will be marshalled straight back into the paddock. And Super Trofeo, after this weekend, has a break of about a month before Monza, which is the last weekend of May, 1st of June weekend, trips the months. And no doubt it'll be a very big grid in front of enthusiastic fans at Monza. Wonderful circuit, lends itself to good racing, especially for GT-style cars. So everybody now down the pit road, and drivers jumping out of cars, including their Silas Rutter for Leipert. Now, has he got the message? Because he's second in class, but not a race winner. 3rd overall, second in class. There is the car that's 2nd overall and wins Pro, Giacomo Pedrini bringing it in. So the 4 classes, the winners congregating at the bottom of the pit lane. And it's going to be interesting to see how some of these combinations develop. The young guns coming new into Super Trofeo racing, getting better and better as the year goes on with more mileage. And so expect different winners as the championship year unfolds. Out of 33 starters, I reckon we got 25 of them to the end. It was a somewhat bruising race for some, but there'll be some busy teams, I think, before they go for dinner tonight to get the cars sorted for tomorrow. There's no warm-up session or anything, of course, for Super Trofeo. You go straight into the next race. So the time you know whether the problem is cured is as you go around to the grid. Everybody else, in the meantime, comes now down the pit lane. If you're not in the top 3 in a class, you're waved back to the paddock. The cars that you see there will also head for scrutineering post-race. And we can hear from our victors, because Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov inherit the win outright, though with Dakota.
Congratulations, that was a fantastic race and a very unexpected win, obviously, for you. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I don't believe it is at the first race. And I haven't a good start, but so Giacomo have a good race.
Anche può parlare italiano, se vuoi dire qualcosa.
No, bravo Giacomo. Grazie.
Giacomo, the smile on your face says it all. Congratulations. A win on the first race of Super Trofeo. You must be happy.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't expect that because we was 14th position and lap by lap. Also, safety car like was a lucky for us, and yeah, we win.
You've won and the car has almost survived as well. You can see on the front bonnet, have a look. Which one of you noticed that the bonnet was starting to come up a little bit?
In the start, I touched a mirror, so
Guy, please,
that's, I think that this is the problem.
So you'll learn for tomorrow. Congratulations for today. Good luck for tomorrow.
So pro winners rather than outright winners, Giacomo Pedrini and Patrick Fraboni. Let's have a look at the results then at the end of our first Super Trofeo race of the year. Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov, outright winners and Pro-Am victors as well from Patrick Fraboni and Giacomo Pedrini. Silas Ritter third with Anthony Pretorius once the penalty was applied, and a really good fourth. Milos Pavlovic nearly a lap down, remember, at one point with Alessio Ruffini, and that car had a spin, didn't it? Fourth overall. Fifth, Jerzy Spinkovic ahead of Anthony Nara with Dimitri Angelbert. Then the AMs, Adrian Lewandowski from Showtram Kaza from another spinner, Raffaele Giannoni. 10th, Renaud Kuppens and Hugo Bach. 12th, Lamborghini Cup winner Karim Auger. There's more drama to come from Lamborghini Super Trofeo tomorrow lunchtime. You can see how many DNFs there were. Some were mechanical related, we heard early on, but mainly spins or contact or damage. And the teams with a bit of work to do in one or two cases before we go racing tomorrow. So let's have a look at the highlights, and one of the talking points was the start of Benedetto Strignano and also Anthony Pretorius outside the white lines. They gained a whole heap of places, but also copped a 10-second penalty that would ultimately have quite an outcome on the overall victor. There was contact in the first couple of corners. We had a wheel coming off Pablo Schum's car as well, which triggered safety car 1. Everybody bunched up, and it made it a lively restart as away blasted Georgi Dimitrov in the lead, trying to keep Enzo Garacci at bay. The pit window opened, the stop cycle through, and then we had Adalberto Baptista off the road at turn 7. That took the rear wing off. Safety car deployed just as he got going again. So it was another brief safety car period until the third, triggered by this. One in the gravel, one in avoidance into the gravel. The real culprit of all of that was Severin Matsur, and the incident is being reviewed right now. So, third safety car period, they all bunched up, and we got 2 laps of racing in, which wasn't really enough time for Silas Ritter to gain 10 seconds over everybody else. He gained 8.5 of them. So in the end, it was third place for that car, and Stefan Guerin was able to just hang on to third place on the road, but with the 2 ahead both being given a penalty, he inherited the race win with Georgi Dimitrov. So it was a class victory and an outright win for a Pro-Am car, which doesn't happen all that often. Good effort by Stefan Guerin, who defended as well as he possibly could. This was how Strignano got past him on the last lap, but he also had a 10-second penalty. So checkered flag first for Silas Ritter, but on corrected times it was the win for Stefan Guerin and Georgi Dimitrov. More to come tomorrow. We'll see you at lunchtime for race 2.